is Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Moses Leota, and Nathan Cleary. I feel they've done this list maybe the wrong way round. Hello everyone and welcome back to the NRL Insight UK Podcast, your weekly fix of rugby league from both sides of the world. I'm your host, Dan Lee, and joining me today, NRL Insight UK regular Paul Cook. How have you been over the past week, Paul?
Yeah, really good, Dan. Looking forward to the Hull KR Warrington game tonight in the race for positions in the top six in Super League. And the NRL end of regular season with lots of games coming up. So, yeah, can't wait for what is a packed weekend.
There is absolutely loads. There's been plenty happening across the NRL and the Super League this week. So much so that I've had to pick out the best stories. There was no way we'd be able to cover everything that's happening. So coming up, we've got the NRL news and all the reaction and analysis from round 24 in the Indigenous round. The latest Super League news, which will include DCE's huge transfer. We'll get deep into that. We'll take a delve into that. And of course, we've got Paul back into the hot seat in Question Cookie. Plenty to get through, plenty of opinions, so let's get straight into the NRL news. NRL news then. Biggest story of the week. Billy Slater steps down as Maroons head coach. He did have the squad for 5 series, managed to get 3 series wins across the line. How well does he go down in history for the Maroons, Paul?
Yeah, huge. He's got huge respect of everybody. I think what you see with Billy, and I love listening to him, is he cares. He cares about the players. He cares about the state. He cares about the team he coaches. And I think that comes across. Everybody's got huge respect for him. I think when he speaks, people listen. I think what'll be interesting is what happens with Craig Bellamy at Melbourne and whether he does take over. He said doesn't want to be an NRL head coach. Is the last thing I saw him say this week. But that may change within a year. So yeah, he's got huge respect. I think what I loved about him is his empathy and sympathy for his players, particularly when there was, the Cam Munster father's death, and this year they had the big front row of Faisal Alawi's the passing of his father, I think, as well. So. Your sympathy and empathy and the human nature of a coach is always there, and I think Billy shows that in abundance.
He does, 100% he does. I think he's been fantastic, and he almost got the 4th series win across the line, so it would have been 4 out of 5. They were very unfortunate in this year's State of Origin. Looking forward, there's a few names that's obviously been touted around that could potentially take over. One being Cam Smith, who we know he's a legend in his own right in the NRL and for Queensland, but he has distanced himself recently from taking over. He say he can't commit to how much time it would take. So it's looking like the bookies' favourite is Kevy Walters once he's finished this year's World Cup in Australia. Do you rate that appointment? Do you think Kevy will do a good job?
Yeah, listen, I think Kevy's done a great job. He put together a squad and made some big decisions on Brisbane before they won the Premiership under Michael Maguire. I think he had an input into that, there's no question. Came over here and wiped the floor with England, that's for sure, last series. The World Cup will be important to everybody in Australia, being played in Australia at the end of this year. And whoever gets the job, they've got a very, very talented pool of players and group of players, that's for certain. And so yeah, you'd be very privileged and honoured if you're a Queenslander to be able to go in there. But there's plenty of candidates, there's plenty of people that could go in there and do the job. And whoever does will be under the blowtorch, as was Billy and Laurie Daly, particularly this year with all of the scrutiny that's around the NRL State of Origin series.
Yeah, I agree. We wait and see who gets the appointment then. The next story, Sam Walker's contract negotiations with the Roosters has broken down. It was reported that it was around the 5.6 million Aussie dollars offered to Sam over 4 years. Him and his camp have rejected it because they're looking more towards the 6.8 million figure. Do you think he's worth that amount of money?
Right now, yeah, I think he's the hottest property with Nathan Cleary coming off contract in 27.
Yeah,
As of November 1st, he can speak to other clubs. It's interesting because it always starts like this. There's an offer made from a club, particularly for a very good player like Sam, and then it usually gets knocked back, the first offer. The wait to go to November 1 because he's playing such good rugby league, and
yeah.
that means every other club can speak to him. So it's fascinating. I always found contract negotiations fascinating when I was part of them, and you asked for if you can go to market. I asked if I could go to market once, and the club gave me permission, and I felt a little bit undervalued that they'd given me permission. It was really weird. So yeah, Sam's going to go to market, and it's going to put everybody on notice. Listen, the team's the Chiefs, innit? It's as simple as that. They're lining up at the door, agents, to take their clients to the Chiefs because of the tax-free implications, and they're knocking back who they don't want and taking who they do. So it'll be interesting what happens with the Roosters, but you can see that these negotiations will go past November 1 now.
The last thing on the Chiefs there, I think Michael Chamas has made it clear he either wants Sam Walker or Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
I feel like it's inevitably going to be one of them, but we'll obviously wait and see. That the last bit on Sammy Walker's camp as well, I think they've got. They'd be daft not to, but I would imagine they've got one eye on the salary cap increase as well that's coming in the next year or two.
I think that's irrelevant, Dan, because there can be a clause in your contract that when it increases, your salary increases. So I don't think that'd be a sticking point in terms of contract talks, because there's a ratchet clause in there which says on any increase of salary, your salary goes up to the same percentage increase as the NRL salary cap.
Yeah. You're 100% right. Moving on to the next piece of news, Jayden Brayley signed a 2-year deal with the West Tigers. Obviously, Jayden getting to the back end of his career now, but Jayden has been picked in the 38-man squad in Brian McDermott's team for the World Cup. Do you think he's going to bring something to the West Tigers? I would imagine, because he is a hooker and he can drop in at 13, but at the moment they've already got Alex Twal at 13 and Api Coruscant at 9, so it's a bit of a strange one for me. I don't know if one of them's planning retirement, moving on, I don't know, but it seems a bit of a strange one that he's gone there for more game time, but two of the star players are already in them positions.
Yeah, a really interesting one. It'll be interesting what does happen with it. Yeah, I'm not sure on it either. I think they've got an abundance of talent in the positions that Braden plays. So he's going to take some ousting, or one of them moves on. So yeah, there could be an interesting sort of swings and roundabouts with player in, player out. We remain to see.
Yeah, we do. Moving on to the next part. It's a 2-part mini segment. This one, the first part being Jet Cleary has handed in a transfer request to leave New Zealand Warriors, and he's stated that his preference is to go to Penrith, which is no shock to anyone. His brother and his father is already there, but it quietly moves us into, we're going to show you an image of how much stuff is going on at the Penrith Panthers at the moment. There's around 16 players that could either be leaving, contract talks, no talks, or already signed. So there's quite a bit to get through. But we'll start off with the Jet Cleary one, because Nathan, his brother, has come out and said that he doesn't want to get in his way from being a halfback. So that would open the gate to, if Nathan does stay, he could move to 6 and Jet could play 7. Would you like that idea or not?
Or it opens the door for Nathan to go to PNG Chiefs.
It does, yeah. I was trying to leave them out the conversation.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, listen, Nathan Cleary can play as a second receiver, as a 6. It's very different the role of half and 5/8 over there, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, I certainly see that both the Cleary brothers can play together. And listen, it's Ivan's last year, next year, I believe, as well, isn't it? So
yeah.
I think he coaches his 500th game this weekend. So congratulations to him on that. But it remains to be seen whether he wants to go and play with his brother. Possibly, he wants to play under his father for the last season of his coaching career, having stepped down at the end of 27. So. It'd be an interesting sort of what happens with the Cleary family, Penrith, and the Warriors. And the Warriors are the big losers in it. There's no question.
Yeah.
So it seems that the Warriors are gonna have brought him through their system and are gonna be the next to blood him into the first grade. And and all of a sudden he wants to go and play at Penrith. So
yeah,
I do know Andrew Webster. I do know Webber really well, and there's no question he won't want a player at the club that probably doesn't want to be there and wants to move on, and he won't stand in his way with that.
Yeah. Well, we'll bring the image up on screen now, and we'll just run through where the Panthers are at currently with the playing squad, because there's a lot of change and potential changes that could go on. So we'll start off in the bottom left corner. We've got no talks going on. So Freddie Lussick, who's been playing a lot lately because of the injuries to Mitch Kenny, his deal ends in 26 this season, and he's no murmurs of any contract extension whatsoever. The other person that's not had any extension talks yet is Blaise Talagi. So that would also indicate that potentially if Jet does come, Blaise could go the other way to New Zealand Warriors. That would be an interesting one. We'll start with the easy ones first. We already know departing Scott Sorensen, Liam Henry, Jack Cole all going to the Perth Bears, and obviously the other one that we touched on last week, Brian Toto, signed for the Chiefs. So we know they are done. Extended, 3 of them extended this week. Casey McLean, Isaiah Papali'i, and Paul Alamotti. They're 3 big signings to extend them.
Good extensions, great extensions. Yeah,
they are. And obviously earlier on a few months ago, Mitch Kenny already extended on a massive contract, 2031, because he was touted to be one of the ones that go to the Chiefs. But that leaves you with an interesting list, because currently in talks, and the Panthers representatives, whoever it is, media sources, have said, oh yeah, talks are ongoing. The last 4 players that are left with no club for the following season is Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Moses Leota, and Nathan Cleary. I feel they've done this list maybe the wrong way round, is what I would say. They are all up 2027, so all 4 of them names can start to talk to other clubs 1st of November. What are you going to do if them 4 walk out the door?
Well, what Penrith always do, they find the replacement.
It's true. It's true.
You talk Viliami Kikau, Jerome Luai, Stephen Crichton, all leave the club and they find a replacement, and they find it through their system. So if they do choose to leave, it will be a huge hole left. There's no question. Fisher Harris, another one, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can throw all the names you want at me about who leaves and who stays. It's just going to be really interesting what happens with them. You can see, I hate to keep mentioning it, but the Chiefs have just put everybody shits themselves now.
I know,
because of the Chiefs. So
I can accept that for most players, including Liam Martin and Moses Leota. I love them as players. I think they're fantastic players. They had incredible careers. But Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary, I think at this moment in time, unless you were to bring someone in on the same money at the same stature, I think they're irreplaceable right now. Doesn't matter if you've got someone in your youth who's going to be the next Nathan Cleary. They are not Nathan Cleary yet.
But we're not talking about right now though either, Dan. We're talking about the end of 2027.
Yeah.
So we're still talking 18 months of Rugby League away.
Yeah.
So you've got 18 months to develop or find another Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah.
That's in the competition, that's out of contracts at the same time, that you bring in.
Yeah.
So listen, whilst it's an interesting time for Penrith, and you would see them 2 as the 2 that you would probably most like to keep out the 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
With all due respect, you need your spine players more than you need your edge or your front rower.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So, listen, whatever happens at Penrith, I'm sure it'll be fine. It always has been and always will be.
I know. We always question them and they always find an answer. So I give up. The final piece of news, we'll just touch on it. Big shout out to Big Papa. Obviously, Josh Papali'i announced his retirement. 340 games for one club, the Canberra Raiders. Absolutely stellar career, incredible player. A little tad gutted that he hasn't took up the option to explore the Super League for a season, and I know that goes against what we've talked about people coming over for a last payday. But he's he's special, isn't he? You'd love to see him in the flesh for one season.
Yeah, absolutely. What a career, what a player. It says everything about the players that are trying to stay on the field through injury just to play a couple more games with him.
Yeah.
That gives you the type of stature and regard that is held at the club. So, what a player, what a person by the sounds of it. Obviously, I've never met him, but so many good things spoken about him. He'll sorely be missed around the place. I'm pretty sure they'll find a role for him somewhere.
I'm sure they will. That wraps it up this week for the NRL news. Let's get straight into the round 24 results. NRL results then, round 24, second Indigenous round. Let's get straight into the first game, which was Thursday morning's game, an absolute classic, finals intensity about it. The Panthers 6, Roosters 12, massive statement, Roosters go to the top of the table. Did you enjoy the game, Paul?
Loved it. Not a bad player, that DC, is he? Signing for us. I think I put that on my social media about some of the red and white side of Hull taking the piss out of the black and white side for signing somebody over the hill and of certain age, if you like. But yeah, what a performance from him! What a performance, and a defensive performance kept turning up from the Roosters. Yeah. Finals intensity, one of the best games of the season. Shows how much Penrith miss Isaiah Yeo in the middle of the field.
We did call that, didn't we?
Some replacing, yeah.
We did call it.
Yeah, so I thought Panthers might get the job done. I thought they might, with a week's preparation without Isaiah Yeo in the team, they were very, very good, just not good enough. And them two are rightfully in the top two right now, and with the Warriors just breathing down the Panthers' necks. But great game of rugby league, one of the best.
It was. Little bit of a rundown to that game. The start of the game was so intense. It was end to end, but there was a stage in the first 20 minutes where the Roosters either did 24 or 26 consecutive tackles and kept the Panthers out, and that told me everything. I thought, I know how this game is going to go.
It's a little bit easier at the start of the game when you're fresh. When you give so much football away, you can keep turning up and keep turning up. What was more impressive is that they carried on defending that way later on in the game.
Yeah.
So it's okay when you're fresh still. You'll see many teams take 2 points and a penalty goal at the beginning of the game because the defences are so fresh when you're attacking inside the opposition 20 early in the game. So, a big defensive performance early. But what was impressive is the way they kept turning up, even when they were under pressure late on in the game.
Yeah, it was. And of course, you mentioned him, DCE, 2 tries, incredible performance, wasn't it? He was unbelievable, unplayable.
Yeah. I listened to Trent Robinson after the game, and he had him next to him in the press conference, and he says, what's really impressive is his 2 run tries. To score 12 points to win the game with 2 run tries from a half is huge. 28 tackles in the game, defensively solid. And it's not what he does just on a weekend, on a game night or game day. It's what he does Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, or how he prepares himself mentally and physically, which is important. And I think that's what he'll bring to the Super League and Hull FC, particularly culture-wise, because it's something that they need. But a majestic performance from a quality player, and for once probably outdid Sammy Walker in terms of performance. I thought Sam was great as well, but I thought DC was best on the field.
And a closing note as well, a big mention to Cody Ramsey at fullback. He's had obviously an incredible story. Everyone knows his story coming back into the league after his illness. But what a performance. His returns on defusing bombs and cleaning up behind the ruck. I just thought he was sensational. He's been a massive plus.
Defensive numbers, Dan, as well. On try line, it's really difficult for a fullback to defend, to get his defence marshalled and in the right position. Numbers right, make sure you're in the right position. If there's a kick, you're able to clean that kick up, be in the frame if there's a kick to the winger and the corner. So, really assured performance, not just with what he did on the ball, but what he did off the ball, particularly defensively, was really impressive. An assured performance from the young man.
Yeah, it was. Let's quickly move on to first of our 2 Friday games. First one up was Manly Seagulls versus the Dolphins. Dolphins 22-0 winners. there's not a lot you can say about that performance from Manly. They were poor, very poor.
Well, the nil's important. The nil's important to Christian Wolf and the Dolphins because they've been conceding of late a lot of points, which is not finals football, defensively. So to keep the opposition to nil, there's a cliff somewhere in Manly, I'm sure, and they've fallen off it, the Seagulls. It's a remarkable turnaround from when Foran took over. But yeah, there's a huge cliff somewhere, and Manly are at the bottom of it now.
So, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, but I've seen an image shared of Kieran Foran this week. Before he got his contract, he'd won 7 and lost 2.
Yeah.
Since he got his contract, he's now lost 7 and won 2.
It's Sod's law, Dan.
Unbelievable.
Honestly, it's Sod's law, isn't it? No, he won't have changed the way he prepares his team, by the way. It's just something's not clicking right now. And the pre-season's probably the best thing that can happen to the Seagulls, where he can move players on, bring players in, start to shape his team and the way he wants to play, which will certainly be akin to the first 8 games he was in charge as opposed to the last 8.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move on, a couple of mentions. Cody Nikorima again. Obviously, the Dragons have got themselves a quality player. He had a very good game. Jerry Marshall-King, out of 9, one of the best 9s that's in the competition, so underrated. And Selwyn Cobble, how good is Selwyn Cobble?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? What can happen when you're enjoying your football? When when you've gone from a club where you didn't feel too valued and your confidence was low to a coach who instills so much confidence in you.
Yeah,
I thought it was outstanding in the Origin series too. By the way,
yeah, he was.
So just a player that's found a home and found some happiness in life, and they always say, don't they, happy wife, happy life. But if you're happy at home and you have a happy life, then there's happy football as well.
There is, and you have to hold on to that, don't you? What's going to happen now is he's going to get attention from teams that are potentially above the Dolphins at the moment, and it's whether you want to give up that happiness and chance your arm. It's always that what if, isn't it, moment. But I just think, like you said, if there's a new contract on the table, he's happy, he's enjoying the football, they're going well, why change it? I think he should stay there.
Depends how many dollars are up for grabs as well.
It's true, yeah. Very true. Move on to the second game of Friday then. South Sydney Rabbitohs went up against the Canterbury Bulldogs. Rabbitohs running out 22-6 winners. Bit of a devastating blow, this one, for the Doggies. They are still only 2 points out the 8, but with the Cowboys having the bye this week, it's leaving 2 final games it's like a 2-game shootout who gets that 8th spot now. Do you see the Bulldogs done?
They'll be done this week if St George beat them. And it's a tricky trip to St George now, isn't it? Because
it is. Yeah.
They're finding a little bit of form and some good football, so you wouldn't want to be going to the Dragons this weekend, but that's what the Dogs are doing. And the pressure's on them with the bye, as you said, to the Cowboys. So if they lose this weekend, I think it's done. If they stay in touch, just 2 points behind, there's still a chance. But you would certainly make the Cowboys favourites and maybe scrub a line through the Dogs for season 2026.
Yeah, I agree. Touching on the Bunnies then, it's a great win for Wayne Bennett's men. David Fafita has been a massive player for them this year, and obviously something didn't work at the Titans for him. He fell out of favour. He was put into reserve grade, but Wayne Bennett has a knack of finding these players who are maybe struggling, a bit disruptive or struggling personally, and he just turns them. And I think him and Cody Walker have been immense for the Rabbitohs this year. And one other guy who I think is going to go on to be one of the best ever, Tallis Duncan. He is some player. And obviously he got himself a try on the weekend. But yeah, for the Bunnies, do you see them comfortably in the 8 now, Paul?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll make the 8. They're a danger in the 8 as well, because they've got it in them, haven't they, to just put a team to bed quickly. And if it clicks with Walker and Fafita, and I tell you another one he's picked up who was on the bones of his backside and didn't know what he was going to do. Matt Duffy.
Yeah, he was my next point.
You look at some of the players that he's picked out, but sort of, and I don't mean this disrespectfully because they're quality players, but they're at the bottom of life's barrel, if you like, where they don't know where they're going in life, and he turns them around. So. Wonderful coach. I think a coach who cares. You look at the way he's in the media is a different Wayne to the one that the players all speak about. So
he is.
I've had lots of conversations with some English players who had him in the England squad, and they love him. So,
Yeah.
you know, and I have a little bit of a soft spot for the Bunnies, obviously, with Shane Richardson, who was a CEO at Hull there, who was the CEO there, who took Sam Burgess over, and the Burgess brothers. So, yeah, it's nice to see them back in finals football, and looking forward to the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move on from that game, the last bit that you just touched on, Matt Duffy, he actually got player of the match in this game. I'll give you some of his stats. One try assist, 25 runs, and between the 25 runs, over 250 run meters. That's some more. That's more than some front rowers. And he's still on a New South Wales contract. He's not even on a full NRL contract. He's not a top 30 player for the Bunnies, so he's still now in a... You know, I would imagine that's possibly going to change the way he's playing. But to still have a player of that stature playing that well on a New South Wales contract is crazy, isn't it?
It just shows you how much of an opportunity it means to some people.
Yeah.
I think by Matt's own admission, and I've read a couple of things with Matt, he's come over to Warrington and he's not settled, or he's found his life spiraled out of control a little bit, where he's not done the things he should have done as a professional player. And that can happen to some Australians who come over, because it's not easy over in England. It's freezing cold, for Christ's sake, all the time. And, you know, it's not easy for people that come over from such a warm climate to come into a different level of rugby league, which is far more aggressive and slow. You know, I listen to Blake Austin quite a bit on his podcast, and, you know, he speaks about, you know, don't think it's going to be easy over in England just because you're an NRL player. And, you know, it's easy for players that come over here that are on a lot of money to be able to just spiral a little bit and not try as hard because they feel it's going to be easy, or they don't particularly settle and they don't work as hard as they would. And Matt Duffy's found that a little bit, and I think he's found a home in South Sydney. He's found a mentor and a friend and a father figure in Wayne Bennett, probably, and he's playing some of his best rugby league again.
He is. We see how the Bunnies go. I really like them this season. I think they'll do well in the finals. But we'll move on to Super Saturday, obviously a triple header. First match on Saturday was the early kickoff, Cronulla Sharks, Canberra Raiders. And for all money, both of us had the Sharks to win in this one. And they ended up getting beat 24-20. Sharks raced out to an early 8-point lead before a fantastic KO Weeks and Xavier Savage combined for a try down the right side. But the biggest issue for the Sharks was Braden Trindle, and we know how terrific he's been this year, went over to score a try for the Sharks, and in the act of scoring, he's dislocated his shoulder. So obviously he took no part in that. How big of a miss now? And they dropped out the top four with this loss. How big of a miss is Trindle going to be going forward? Huge.
Hines needs Trindle. Trindle doesn't need Hines.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. I think Nico Hines needs that Trindle figure next to him. They've got to find a solution and find it quickly, because they're at the bottom of that cliff somewhere in Manly, with Manly. So they've spiralled out of the top four. They're now out the top four. It's the same old with the Sharks. You think that they're travelling along really nicely. They put 50 on teams. They wipe the floor with teams. And then all of a sudden, one result, and it just, you know, the pack of cards falls after it, you know. So
they have that.
There's a big job on for Craig Fitzgibbon. He's the right man for the job. And you, are we right in the mind? We're putting a line through him who can win the Premiership, maybe. Because it seems it's same old. When it comes to finals football, the Sharks leave the worst rugby for it. So
yeah, they have that knack of making you fall in love with them.
Yeah,
they just leave you. they just get up and walk out.
Yeah, they do, and you have to find a new love. So you end up with Penrith or South Sydney or the Warriors.
100%. But enough about the Sharks. Another great performance that we've not. Well, I say another. The past couple of weeks they've played well. I feel the Raiders. They've been getting back to how they were last year. But Ricky Stewart will be thinking, where the hell has it been for 3/4 of the season?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame. Too little, too late, I feel. But the two halves, they played very, very well. Ethan Strains especially. A wonder ball with a try assist to send Jed Stewart over. He is some player. He's a special player, Ethan Strange. Raiders, do you think they'll reset, recruit well, go again next season?
But it seems every season that they have to, doesn't it? It seems
Yeah.
every season they have to. Listen, it's a hell of a fall from grace for the Raiders. Minor premiers last year.
Yeah.
To outside the 8 and no chance of making it. And performances now are too little, too late. But Ricky's astute, isn't he? He's aggressive. He's astute. He knows what he wants. He wants what he wants, and invariably gets it. So we're hoping 2027 can be a better season for them.
Yes, we'll move on to the next game, Saturday. Parramatta Eels 32, North Queensland Cowboys 30. Another one I certainly didn't see coming. I thought the Cowboys, they're just flip-flopping at the moment, getting battered against the Roosters. They won last week. Now they've lost again away at the Parramatta Eels. Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I don't know where Parramatta pull these performances. They've done it a couple of times this year, but they're still straddling towards the end of the ladder. What do you think? Do you think the Cowboys are going to make the 8, or it's too hit and miss, isn't it? They're not. I think
consistent. The Cowboys make the 8 because it's too difficult for the Dogs to make the 8 now.
Yeah.
With the bye this weekend, it's probably come at the right time. I'll go back for a week before the Roosters' heavy loss. They beat the Broncos in the local derby, which was a huge performance. So you can understand the emotional downfall at the Roosters game. But then they pick it up and win last week, then the week before, and then they lose this week. They're just too inconsistent. We spoke about the Dolphins, conceding too many points. If you score 30 points in a game, invariably you should win in the NRL.
Yeah.
If you're conceding more than that, you probably can't win the comp.
No,
I agree. They're a team right now, the Cowboys, that are going to make the 8, but you probably scrub a line for them being Premiership winners. Because you just can't concede that many points.
This
spoke
game,
about this on our podcast yesterday, me and Carl. The kick from John Bateman was outstanding. Some of the tries they score are outstanding. But it comes to now, does it? Because they don't win the game and you don't get 2 points for finishing 32-30 loss. So you can attack as beautifully as you want, but if you don't defend, you can't win a premiership.
I was literally just about to say that because it reminded me of the wide to west try, or the one that Saints scored at Leeds last year with Harry Robertson involved in it, and it just I don't know where that play was coming from. And like you said, John Bateman's kick was like any half would have been proud of that. But the one other thing to mention in that game, the Junior Paulo, who was linked to going with the Perth Bears. I don't know if you've seen it, but he thrown a 35-metre
pass.
I've
seen it, mate. It's the most delightful pass I've seen.
Yeah.
There's a couple in the Super League this week. Jake Arthur threw one this week in the Super League. We'll speak about that later. Last week, sorry. But this was a beautiful pass. He said, I just heard somebody shout, didn't he? And he thought, I better throw it. It was right on the money. The Sydney Harbour Bridge pass is what we say over there in Australia. But fantastic pass from a front rower, and one that any genuine half would be absolutely over the moon with.
They would. But the Eels win, Cowboys lose. They have got the bye, so luckily they will stay in that 8th spot this week. But it's all going to go down to them final 2 games. The final game, which I thought was going to be a bit more of a contest, turned out to be lopsided. Warriors running out 40 points to 6 winners against the Brisbane Broncos. Warriors obviously now on the same points as the Panthers because they lost, with only a 10-point difference on the table separating them. This was a big win for the Warriors and an equally important one for points difference, wasn't it?
Huge win for the Warriors. Huge win and a real confidence boost. What the hell has happened to the Broncos?
I don't know.
You talk about big stories from Premiership winners. They could finish wooden spoon.
Yeah.
They could finish wooden spoon. The way St George are playing, the Dragons could catch them.
They're only
the
4
Broncos
points.
Look to wave the white flag.
They're only 4 points behind, and like we've just mentioned, then the Dragons, if they beat the Dogs this week, it could potentially be 2 points, and no one would have predicted that. Absolutely no one.
I've listened to Andrew Johns this week. Johns says the same. It's about, they could finish wooden spoon.
Yeah.
There is a possibility. Probably not. Yeah. Thankfully for them, but
he did mention in his comments, didn't he, that they've checked out. They don't care. His words were, they do not care if they win, lose or draw now. They are checked out, ready for the off-season.
Billy Slater said the same. Billy Slater says it looks like off that performance they've checked out. The players are refuting that. And rightly so, of course. To be accused of giving up and checking out is fraudulent, isn't it, as a player? And it's probably the ultimate insult for any professional rugby league player is that you're going out there and don't care. That's a real big statement. But take nothing away from the Warriors. They're in joint second or third on points difference by just 10 points, as you said.
Yeah.
A wonderful performance from them. Zelezniak's try is out of this world again. That put down. I just love watching the Warriors, and the Warriors go through it. By the way, they're into I think their third and fourth string halfback selection. Any other team in the competition, mate, misses their first two choice halves.
Yeah.
They're out of the race, mate,
Yeah,
and they're still joint second and breathing down the neck of a top two finish.
They went and lost another one this week. Luke Metcalf, hamstring injury from taking a conversion kick, and he's not the first one we've seen this season with a hamstring injury from a conversion. And the one other piece of news, Reece Walsh also went down with an injury. So it just goes from bad to worse for the Broncos.
Syndesmosis, he's gone for the year. I think it's 8 weeks. He's had surgery. I've seen he's had surgery this morning.
Yeah, he's done. But for the Warriors, like you said, fantastic win for them. I'm still backing them to get in that top two. I've said it. I've said it for weeks. I feel they've just got that momentum, and like you said, they just keep Webbo keeps finding answers for the halves all the time, and it's like this week. It's rumoured that Jet Cleary. I've not seen the teams yet this morning, but it was rumoured Jet Cleary could make an appearance this week because that's how many injuries they've got. Obviously, Tanner Boyd is another one that's missing. The final two games then, Sunday's games, Newcastle Knights 36, Gold Coast Titans 26. Another win for the Newcastle Knights, but it's still a bit worrying, isn't it, that they're conceding 26 points at home against the struggling Gold Coast Titans team.
Yeah, again, it's one of them that they're in the finals, they're going to be in the finals, and you're almost scrubbing a line for them because of the number of points they're conceding.
Yeah.
You can attack as well as you want, but if you can't defend, you can't win premierships, as we've said with some of the other results. But listen, what I will say is what a turnaround for Justin Holbrook and the Knights.
Yeah.
From 2025 to 2026, they're a team that deservedly in the top eight, will play finals football, will cause an upset along the way, I've no doubt. A performance which it needs to be better, but still yields 2 points. They need to defensively sharpen up, as do a number of other clubs, if they want to get to finals and the grand final.
Yeah, agreed. Two of the standouts, though, I've mentioned them before, the two Fletchers, two young lads, Fletcher Sharp and Fletcher Hunt. Some of the play that they did during this game, that's obviously what the Knights are known for this season, is their attacking play, so we ignore the defence for a moment. Some of the attacking play is just sublime. Fletcher Hunt, for his try in the first half, the speed of it, the dummy, and just gliding through, and then no one could get anywhere near him. And Fletcher Sharp as well also scored an incredible try. Do you see them going deep into the finals tonight, or are you personally putting a line for them purely because of the defensive leaks?
Defensively, listen, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. If you score more points than the opposition and you attack brilliantly, you will end up winning the game. So you've got to defend better, but they're two players, the Fletchers, that you build a club around. And I think they will build a club around. They've still got some great young kids coming through as well, by the way. And the retention and recruitment will be good under Justin Holbrook. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. A really shrewd coach who I enjoyed speaking to when he was over here in press conferences and such like. So a little bit of affection for those that have been over in England that I've spent some time with, and they're doing a great job. I think they'll win a finals game. I don't think they'll make a grand final, but I think they could win a finals game, which is, again, a stepping stone to improvement from not making finals football to making it and winning a playoff game. So they're going in the right direction, that's for sure. Yeah,
they are. Let's get into the last game then of the round on Sunday. We'll just gloss over this one because there's not much meaning behind it, let's be honest. West Tigers 22, Dragons 24. Good points for the Dragons. They've got another win on the board. Tigers, we've said it for a number of weeks now. Absolute. They're also at the bottom of that cliff.
Cooked.
Absolutely done. There's not a lot to say about that, to be fair. It was 12-6 at half-time. The one standout for me, though, who I do think is going to be a very good player for the St George Illawarra Dragons is Lycan King Tongia in the halves. He did play very well, and he wasn't fancied under Shane Flanagan. He never really got that much game time, but he's shown again on the weekend in this game in particular his actual attributes and his qualities. But yeah, we wait and see how them two clubs go next season. But that wraps it up for this week's NRL results. Let's get straight into Question Cookie. Back into the hot seat then, into Question Cookie, Paul. My favourite round, this one. Let's get straight into some of the questions. Bit more of an intrusive one, this. Do players generally ignore the media, or does the media generally find its way into the dressing room? How was it when you were a player?
We're different, because the media, well, they want as much social media, but if players say they don't read stuff, then they're kidding themselves. Of course, everybody wants to know what people think of them and whether they're playing well or not playing well, or and negative comments can get into your head. And I think you're kidding yourself if you don't care, if you say you don't care. But there's a side of it where you've got to accept it with a pinch of salt as well, because everybody's got an opinion. They're like arseholes, aren't they? Everyone's got one, and it's as simple as that. So they don't particularly affect me. I think I've been through enough now to understand they don't affect me. I don't like rudeness, and I don't like people saying anything personal and insults.
Yeah.
I don't like judgment, because people don't understand what shoes we're walking in.
Because obviously there's two things that's happened recently in Super League alone. Obviously the stuff at Castleford, and then the stuff at, what was the other club? I think Hull FC. Obviously they've been getting panned a lot throughout the season. Do you think that them sort of squads this season have been going on the social media, have been checking out, and does that feed through to the squad because of opinions on the outside?
No, I don't think opinions on the outside make too much of a difference. But if the opinions on the outside match the opinions on the inside, they do make a difference.
Yeah.
And there's no question them two clubs have had the fair share of noise that have come out of them. St Helens is another club that have had the fair share of noise come out as well. So there's no question that if everybody's of the same opinion and people in the dressing room are talking about it and have the same opinion, then obviously them opinions are probably more factual than not.
Next question. As a former player, what are you seeing and looking for during a game that the average fan doesn't see?
Oh, how long have you got?
Well, give me your best two ones.
Listen, when the ball goes away from you, in a game of rugby league, that's when you should be at your most alert.
Yeah.
Because that's when you should be looking for different triggers to get the ball in your hands if you're attacking, or make sure you understand what's going on in front of you while the ball's away from you defensively.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of an attack. I would understand what each player was going to do from the opposition right edge defence. So I would understand if the winger was an intercept merchant or was up and in. If he stayed back 2.5 metres, I would play to centre more than winger. I would understand if the centre's up and in. I would understand if the halfback's a my-man defender, so he could put a lead on him or a player in and around him, and he would just take the next block, the next player. I would also look for hips, whether hips turned in, turned out, whether eyes turned in and turned out, where the fullback's positioning was on a player. And if you tied up the back rower, I'd keep going, because there'd be a bigger middle coming round the corner. Yeah. So I'd feel I could get to the outside of that middle. So there's lots of different triggers. There's far much more that goes into a play or a try assist play than anybody would ever think as a ball player.
As that move, so say the move is unfolding, you've got the ball in your hands, you're attacking that right edge defence.
Yeah.
Before you've even scanned the line, all that information, is that already subconscious to you?
Course,
so you know where everyone is.
It's already computed. Yeah, it's already computed. Well, pre-game, you understand from watching videotape that you've got of the opposition, what the opposition players do. So you can have a little book which says, for argument's sake, the Leeds right edge defence or the St Helens right edge defence would do these things. So you've already got a picture of it. You've already got a picture of what different players do. So once the trigger is the back row gets caught and there's a middle around the corner, the fullback's in this position and he's trying to get the middle across him. If the fullback doesn't step in, you've got the right edge already, because you're already to the halfback, the 3-player in. The centre and wing, you understand what they're going to do, so you pick your pass accordingly. So the Saints' right edge, when we played, there was Jamie Lyon defended as 3-man, Sean Long 2-man, and then Darren Albert as the winger. Darren Albert you couldn't throw across the front of because he'd intercept. Sean Long was a my-man defender, and if you ended up at Jamie Lyon, he would take the next man because he didn't get any information from his inside, so you would end up playing short on him. So he'd play short through the gap because Long would take the centre because he was a my-man defender. So there was different ways of opening up different teams. There was susceptible to a kick behind as well, because if Albert felt threatened, he'd get up high so that you could roll a kick in. So there's different players that you understand in different defences.
Yeah, love the insight. Next question. In the 2005 season with Hull FC, you had the pleasure of playing alongside the former Kiwi international Stephen Kearney. How good of a player was he to have in and around the squad with you?
Brilliant. You don't realise how good he was until you start thinking about how you should live your life and lead your life afterwards. So while he was there, we was in a bubble of Hull FC, and I was a young kid that was just enjoying rugby and probably enjoying socialising as much as the rugby, which was our way as a club. But it wasn't the right way. Stevens was the right way. I'll give you a story about him. He said before the 94 Challenge Cup final that he was going to flatten Kevin Sinfield first time he got the ball, or he didn't have the ball, and he would give a penalty away because he wanted to leave one on him. And I'm looking right across the line at the Millennium Stadium, as it was then, the Principality now. 76,000 people there, and it's all uproar, and you can't see anything or hear anything much. I'm looking across the line, and Kevin Sinfield passes the ball in the first 2 minutes. And if you go back and watch the game, about 3 seconds later, he just sits on his ass and on his back, and Stephen's gone through him. And there was no penalty given, but he's just gone through him and laid one on him. Now, it didn't affect Kevin. He ended up with the Lansdowne trophy. But it was just funny to me that I knew he was going to lay one on someone. There was nasty. The front row, the back row was nasty back then at Hull FC. They used to have a meeting in the showers before every game about what they was going to do to the opposition. And Stephen was a focal point in that. He was calm as well as aggressive. A wonderful player. Finished his time by getting sent off after 7 minutes in a playoff game for a head-high shot on Stuart Fielding, which, again, I think he was going to lay one on him because of something that had happened on earlier on in the year.
Yeah, love it. He was a massive player, obviously. From a fan's point of view, loved watching him, and he had an incredible career over in the NRL. His time at the Melbourne Storm was really good as well.
Best back rower on the planet at one time.
Yeah, he was. Can't disagree with that. Right, we're going to finish off then with one of your favourites. I know you like these ones. Rate the following lock forwards in Paul Cook's order.
Gosh, here we go.
Andy Farrell, Paul Sculthorpe, Isaiah Yeo, Paul Gallen.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. You like to make this easy, don't you?
Yeah. Give me your best one. We'll go top to bottom. Who's your best one out of Farrell, Sculthorpe, Yeo, Gallen?
Well, I was a kid when I played against Farrell. He was the best player I played against, Andy Farrell, so I'd have to put him at one.
Yeah.
I never played against any of the last two. I played against Sculthorpe, but he was phenomenal, Farrell. Sculthorpe, brilliant. Isaiah Yeo's won 4 premierships, by the way.
Yes,
Gallen's only won 1. Gallen was so important to both New South Wales and Australia and Cronulla Sharks when they won their premiership in 2016. Gallen 4, Sculthorpe 3, Isaiah Yeo 2, Farrell 1.
Love it. I love putting you on the spot with him.
Yeah, cheers for that. He's fully next. He's going to smack me.
Yeah, he is. Right, love it. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also drop your comments in the section for if there's any of these questions that you would like me to ask Paul. So yeah, that wraps up Question Cookie. Let's move into the Super League news. This week's Super League news then, go into a massive story, one of the biggest to grace the Super League in news. DCE, Daly Cherry-Evans, signs for Hull FC. Give me your initial thoughts, Paul Cook.
A fabulous signing. I spoke about this during the week about or since it was announced. What are the biggest signings for Super League when you consider Daly Cherry-Evans was the captain of Queensland in 2025 series win over New South Wales. He's played so many games at top level. He's missed so few games at top level. I can't believe if this stat's right. You might be able to tell me, Dan. He's missed less games through injury than he has backing up after Origin.
Yeah,
and a player that just breeds culture and which is something Hull FC desperately need. And a player that obviously Steve McNamara's had dealings with. Trent Robinson would have given him a rap with regards to Steve McNamara and coming over to Hull in the Super League and how big a club it can be from what it is right now. Yeah, a massive signing, akin to the Joey Johns coming over for me in 2005. Trent Barrett came over to Wigan in the early 2000s. I'm not sure whether there's been many bigger since then. So
no, this
is a huge transfer coup, not just for Hull FC, but for the Super League in general.
For me personally, absolutely phenomenal signing. I would imagine some of the hate that's coming from fans is jealousy. I would imagine because he's still that good. His performance proved that last week against the Panthers. We've already mentioned as well that he was in contention of returning to the Queensland team this season before Sam Walker was picked, purely because Tommy Dearden was injured. The one other thing I'll mention on it as well, give it a little bit of backstory on it. I was awake at midnight editing the last week's podcast, so I was awake when the news broke. So obviously I did my own post, put it out. There was a lot of backlash from Hull FC fans of signing him. Can you give us an insight on why a lot of the fan base were against it? I know he's 37. Is that the reason why? Because they see
37. It's 37. It's because of his age and because the club's been burned in the last 18 months over players that have come in at a certain age and not played enough football. So, listen, you can say they can have their own opinions on it. Anybody can have. Listen, no opinion's wrong, by the way.
No.
The proof will be in the pudding next year when Daly Cherry-Evans comes in, and with the amount of games he plays or doesn't play, and the amount of money he's earning or doesn't earn because he's not playing, but more so the culture off the field. I don't think that can be denied in terms of it doesn't matter what he's earning and how many games he plays. If the young kids at the club understand what it takes to be a professional player and how to behave as a professional player from some of the stuff you hear coming out of the club, then that leaves a lasting legacy in akin to Stephen Kearney in 2005.
Yeah,
which is still spoken about to this day, and we're 21 years on, and the club still, and the players that played under him, and the coaching staff in the interim head coach Andy Last still speaks about the legacy Steve left at the club 21 years ago. And if Daly Cherry-Evans comes in and does just that, then it's a success for me.
It is. On the evening of doing that post, I got absolutely hammered by Hull FC fans. So thank you for that.
Take it with a pinch of salt, mate. Some of them will be dressed up as they'll be red and white, dressed up in black and white clothing, a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yeah. No, I think they should at least. I understand with the injury part, but we've just touched on his injury record. Is phenomenal, especially for his age, because he looks after him very, very, very well. Looks after himself very well.
And as a halfback, Dan, you can stay out the way a little bit. With all due respect, you're not a middleman that needs to be in and amongst it all.
No.
You can defend at two-man or even on the wing in a couple of sets in yardage if he feels he needs to. I don't suppose he will, but there's ways and means. You don't have to be on the ball all the time. You can direct the operation from afar a little bit, pick your moments, and I think he'll be a wonderful signing for the club, both on and off the field.
Before we move on, then, last question on him. Who partners him in the halves for Hull FC?
Well, that's the interesting question, because Jake Arthur's got better, but they're talking about it being Will Price moving from fullback to partner him in the halves. So, it's going to be an interesting one because you can't have too many. You can't have too many halves in your club that are all on decent money. Because it'll be marquee money. Price is on a decent amount of money, and Jake Arthur, as an overseas player, will be on a decent amount of money, and one of them's got to give. Because
they have already signed David Armstrong for fullback, is it? Is it
I
Armstrong?
don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm sure they've already signed.
They signed Bailey Hodgson.
Bailey Hodgson it is. Sorry,
Bailey Hodgson for fullback.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Don't frighten Derek Lowe even more. Jeez.
Hey, well, it wouldn't surprise me. He's probably been linked with Wakefield. They're linked with everyone at the moment. So they have signed. My apologies. They have signed a fullback. They've signed Bailey Hodgson. So if they put him at fullback, Will Price at 7, DCE at 6, there's no space for him. Then is there? Does he move on?
That's my point. 3 into 2 doesn't go, does it?
No.
So and ultimately they've got a couple of young kids coming through. One of the Kemp twins coming through the system at Hull.
Yeah.
That is going to be taken under the wing of DCE, particularly. That you don't need a third high end in halfback when you've got a young kid that can step in. So one of them will have to give at some point. And I'm not sure whether it'll be in 2027 or whether that Jake Arthur will see his contract out and then leave the club, or Will Price will see his, or Daly Cherry-Evans moves on and them two take over. So, there's lots of different permutations at the club, but what a signing for Hull FC.
Exciting times for Hull FC. Next piece of news that unfolded recently, Matt Lodge has signed for Leeds Rhinos, but only until the end of the season. So he's here for the final few games of the regular season, then into the playoffs. And him and his management have openly said they are looking at returning to the NRL at the end of the season.
Isn't it? Sam Ayoub.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it a strange one, Dan. I find it strange. Other than, I find it strange until I think Brad Arthur's making the decision, and I trust him with my life.
Yeah.
So he's not got many decisions wrong, Brad, at the club in terms of any decision wrong at the club from the day he took over and keeping the club in for the 6 weeks that they should have been off after losing, not making playoffs and the grand final, to sending Harry Newman out on loan to Hull FC this year as a kick up the backside for his performances. So I don't think he's got a great deal wrong. So whatever he sees fit with Matt Lodge will be the reason. And I wouldn't like to speculate on what it is, because from afar it doesn't look right, but it probably is for the club. Yeah,
it must be. But it's a good signing nonetheless, even if he only plays, 4 or 5 games. He'll be very important for them, especially if he's coming off the bench. He'll have a massive impact. Next story that broke, I think it was yesterday, this one broke. Isaac Liu signed for Hull FC from the Lee Leopards. You've just been speaking about me giving him a heart attack. I think he would have had a heart attack when he found out this news. Big signing, another big sign of Hull FC, heading in the right direction, it seems.
A 12-month contract, so maybe the club's learning in with regards middles coming into the club on 12-month deals. Whether there's an option of another 12 months on club or players' side remains to be seen. The same with Daly Cherry-Evans, as somebody in his mid to late 30s. Louis comes in. I didn't realise, Dan, and this is my bad, he's won 3 premierships.
Yeah.
So you know, what a player. I mean,
he's a decorated player.
It's not often I don't understand. I read it yesterday. What a stat that is to win 3 premierships down in NRL.
Yeah.
I'm playing decent rugby. I thought he was phenomenal last week at Leeds in Leeds win.
Yeah.
Kept moving his feet late on. Again, someone that's going to come in and teach young players how to be a rugby league player and how to win premierships and grand finals.
Because you do notice when he's not in that Leopards side, you notice that he's not there.
Yeah.
If he's been out banned or injuries or whatever it may be, you do notice. I think it's another shrewd piece of new business for the Hull FC side. I think he'll be a fantastic signing for Hull. The next piece of news was an odd one. Amir Burra has gone to Catalans. Alex da Costa's come back from Catalan to Hull. So it's basically like a player swap. Who's got the better deal here?
I'm not sure. I've watched Amir Burra this year, and some of the time, he was one that has took a shortcut the other week where he rips the ball out. He throws the ball into someone at the ruck. I'm not sure whether what Catalan are seeing or what Hull are seeing in Da Costa. What I will say is, if either of them throw me the ball the way they throw it sometimes, I'd chuck it back at them. Chuck it back at them, because the service has got to be better. If you're in that, and listen, I was blessed with Richard Swain for 4 years, so and before that, Dean Treaster and Lee Jackson. So I played with some wonderful nines that fired service. Ben Fisher at Hull KR as well. So I was very blessed with the ball where I wanted it, when I wanted it. from some wonderful nines. But if you can't pass the ball from the deck as a 9 and spiral a pass from 9 accurately, then you can have it back as a ball player because you're taking time off me as a half. So, I think Steve McNamara understands what he wants from his 9. Maybe that's he wants to play more off his first receiver, Daly Cherry-Evans, Arthur, Daly Cherry-Evans and Price, or whether he wants to play through Isaac Louis at 13. Not sure what's happening with John Asiata, so that'll be interesting. As for Catalan, I think Lipovic has gone out this week as well to another Super League club. John Cartwright needs to know what's happening with some of their players at the club, that whether they're going to be retained. He certainly made some inroads with Jesse Arthurs coming into the club as a centre for Fartape. So it's interesting to see how both squads shape up. Hull FC are shaping up okay right now. The player swap. As for which team have got the best end of the deal, I'll reserve judgment until I see both squads next year.
Yeah. There's not much to add on that really, because I do like both players, I do. But Amir Burry, what he's always striked me as, he's very small in stature, height-wise. He doesn't look like a natural 9 to me.
He's a running 9 for me. Yeah. Defensively, Alric de Costa's probably a bit better. So
he's a bigger body, isn't he? So maybe that's what maybe like you said, maybe that's what the Hull club and Steve McNamara is looking at, that they want someone in bigger stature in the middle. I don't know, but we'll wait and see how it unfolds. Next piece of news that broke this week: James Bentley signed a 3-year deal with the Bradford Bulls. Personally, for me, I think it's a massive signing for the Bradford Bulls. Obviously, coincides with John Bateman, so they've got a very experienced back row now in Bentley and Bateman. It was reported that the Wolves were only willing to give him a 1-year deal, so maybe that's what's got him over the line, the fact that it's a 3-year deal. Do you like this one, Bentley to Bradford?
Job security for Bentley's probably the important factor, isn't it, in terms of for more than 1 year. I can understand why Warrington have only offered him 12 months, because when you talk about players who are akin to penalties and cards, then one of the first names that crops up is James Bentley. And I spoke with James after the Bradford game the other week where Warrington beat Bradford. Yeah. I was on it with Sky, and I've got a soft spot for James because I think he's a good kid. His life's more balanced and better. I think he's off the alcohol as well, which is big for any player to be able to give up alcohol. Mitchell Pearce has done it. Mickey McAlorum, James Bentley's another one now. So kudos to him, tip my hat to him. I hope it works out well for him. He's a good kid. He's a good player. He's got something about him. He's got that brain snap in him, which he's got to work on. But I think it's a good signing for Bradford. Yeah, agreed. The last bit of news, we'll just touch on it. Chris Matagi, the young gun that's come through at St Helens, is joining the Cronulla Sharks. Massive move for him. I bet he's excited about that one, isn't he? Yeah, I would think so. I don't think it'll be the last young player you see go on a development contract to the NRL, or even the last young player that goes on an NRL contract to the NRL. But we certainly want to keep our best players or our young players coming through the system, and that may help with the NRL deal that does eventually come to fruition, hopefully, for the Super League. But what remains to be seen. Will he go over there, Chris, and do a couple of years and maybe come back to England? Who knows? He wouldn't be the first player to do something like that. Yeah. Will Price has been over there for a couple of years and come back, and a number of other players. So we shall see. We shall. That wraps it up for this week's Super League news. Remember to like and subscribe, drop your comments in the section. Let's get into the final round, which is the Super League analysis of round 23. Super League round 23 analysis then. Lots of great games, lots of points scored. Let's get into the first of 3 that were on Thursday. Warrington 30, York Knights 10. They ran out more comfortable winners than it probably let on. I thought York had a great game. Started off well, scored the first try. McShane actually scored in the corner. Does this now cement the 6 as it is? I know you were already set on it, but Warrington could, if they were to win tonight against Hull KR, they could actually get into 3rd place. What's your feelings on Warrington? No, they're in 3rd now. Hull KR are in 4th. If Hull KR win, they go to 3rd. If Warrington win, they put pressure on Wigan and Leeds in the top 2. So they've flown under the radar somewhat, Warrington, where everybody talks about it being their year every year. Everybody's left them alone a little bit, and I think they've done a great job to be where they are. Just a few weeks ago we were saying they could end up out the six, and I don't think that, but I think they'll probably finish in fourth, fifth, maybe. I think Lee will finish sixth. So yeah, I think the top six is still done. But tonight's game, Hull KR Warrington's a big game, and there's some big ones at the end of the season where the top six are jostling for a home eliminator before a grand final eliminator.
Obviously, George Williams returned. Watching him live, you forget how good he actually is. He is some player. Yeah, straight back in, and you can just tell he is NRL quality, and that's no disrespect to the Super League. He's got that extra gear, that extra level. He just looked phenomenal on Thursday night. I think he'll go well at the Dolphins. I think they'll miss him. I know they're bringing Brodie Croft in, but he's a special player, George Williams, isn't he?
Yeah, try assist, kick assist mostly. Just sees things that other players don't see.
Yeah.
Understands the defensive system of another team and where positionally they're probably a little bit out of position, and put some really nice kicks in, didn't he, for try assists. So, yeah, probably an absolute blessing to have George back on the field. And it's funny, as I said, I spoke to James Bentley, Joe Philbin and Stefan Ratchford after the Bradford game a couple of weeks ago that we were at, Dan. And they expect some players back towards the end of this season, which makes them almost full strength. And if you've got your full cap, and particularly your spine cap on the field, you've got a chance.
You have. The other two mentions as well, I just love him as a player, and watched him live. Danny Walker, honestly, he's so good. And obviously Ewan Irwin, the try that he scored, the solo try, the dummy, sliced through and then run into the right corner. They have got some spine. And like you said, the talk has gone quiet of it being their year, but they're definitely in with a shout. I think there'll be more pressure. If they were to get over the line tonight against Hull KR, there will be massive pressure heaped onto them, just because they're in that third spot. They've beat Hull KR on the run-in, and then it's ready for playoffs then. But yeah, great win for Warrington. York, valiant performance, but unfortunate. Second game on Thursday, Hull KR 28, Dragons 10. Dragons falling off a cliff at the moment, but on the flip side to that, Hull KR are going about the business. Another team that's gone under the radar. They're coming into form now, aren't they, Paul?
Well, four games without Lewis, 4 wins. Maybe a little bit fortunate to play Bradford and Catalan in amongst that, who are struggling. Lewis back for the Hull KR Warrington game tonight as we're speaking. So yeah, they're coming into some form. Big 4 or 5 games for them towards the end of the season to make sure the firing going into playoffs. And I know that they play Wigan in that at the end of the month, so that'll be a huge game for them. Decent win for KR. As expected, they got the result. So I think you move on from it and draw a line under it, because they're playing a team which is almost looking to 2027 and can't win a game right now.
Yeah, I agree. Jack Broadbent scored a double. He's so underrated, Jack, He doesn't get talked about enough. Jez Litton in form. He got a try. And the one mention and the one star that stands out for Catalan, Charlie Staines, who came in from the Brisbane Broncos, he scored a fantastic solo try, ran across laterally along the line, found a gap, sliced through and went to the far corner, almost got caught in the end, but got over the line. I think he's a phenomenal player for Catalans. We'll go into the next game then. Leeds Rhinos 16, Lee Leopards 20. You had the privilege of commentating live on this game. How good was the atmosphere, and what a shock victory for Lee?
Yeah, brilliant game. I said I didn't want to wish. You want playoffs to begin. You don't really want to wish away, but that was in a playoff game, and I thought Lee were brilliant. Scored 4 tries to 2. Defended really well. Conceded in the first set of 6 that they defended, so makes the scoreline even more respectable in terms of for them defensively, because they kept them out for 79 minutes other than once. So yeah, I just thought Lee kept turning up, and went down to 12 players with what was a really poor tackle from Badrock on Harry Newman. Defended with 12 players that looked like the Serge of the Alamo that Leeds had to get over at the end. The tackle from Amaya Hanley was a match winner on 77 minutes, which put Ryan Hall in touch. Great game of rugby league. Leeds not great.
Yeah.
Lee defended really well, kept turning up. Louis Offahengawi, best player on the field for me. I know Hanley got player of the match on the channel, but Offahengawi was phenomenal first in and when he came back on. So yeah, there's always a result which shot. I couldn't see Leeds losing. They've not lost at home all year. Lee certainly had a chance going into the game, but they were brilliant. You can talk about Leeds not playing well and all that, but Lee had to keep turning up, particularly the last 20 minutes defensively.
There's a couple of things on that. I seen the replay of that bad rock tackle, and we don't see a lot of hip drop tackles in the Super League, to be fair. The technique's pretty good. You don't see it often, but that was a bad one. Do you think
Danny only got fined, no charge.
That was
a fine only.
I find
that unbelievable.
He's very, very lucky because I've seen it, and his full weight at a horizontal angle, his body was on Harry Newman's left leg, and I just thought that is a leg breaker. It was a bad one.
It's a career ender, isn't it, for me? It's a career ender.
It was a bad one. And Ryan Hall, I couldn't believe it. The comment that I had in my head was about what you said to Gareth Rayner in the grand final about the coloured boots being and touching the touchline. And I seen it and I thought, oh, it's so close. It was blades of grass. That was the difference. It was very unlucky. I thought we were set up for golden point, but yeah, it was a shock for me. I thought Leeds were going to get the win, but hats off to Lee Leopards. I thought that
absolutely
very good, very good performance, very good win. Going to Friday's games then. Hull FC 14, Cast Tigers 18. We both predicted Hull FC would back up. They didn't. You were in attendance, but not for Sky Sports terms. You were there on a guest appearance.
A jolly, and I've stopped drinking. How bad's that? So listen, it was great to see some of the old players that I used to coach me and play alongside a little bit in the old A team at Hull. Enjoyed being there, enjoyed it all. The highlight of my night was being near Steve Knockanaughton, an old loose forward for Hull FC, who my dad tells me was brilliant, and if my dad tells me he was, he probably was. Not the greatest quality of game. I thought Castleford deserved to win, and I made a flippant, fun comment to the ex-players that Daly Cherry-Evans is looking for the Tipex.
Don't be upsetting Hull FC fans. You've just gotten back on side.
It was a joke. I was kidding, but you could understand because it's 12,000 fans turned up to Hull FC thinking, we've got a great win at Saints last week. We're coming home against a team that was really struggling with no coach. And then they're turning the performance that they turned in, which was poor. And, you can't say anything other than that. They didn't play well and, they've got to find some consistency in performance. But ultimately, Castleford did a job on them, and I thought that they deservedly won the game. Yeah,
they did. Liam Hood, I thought, had a good performance. I thought he played very well.
Yeah, he's a good player, Liam. He's a good player. It's a shame the game's a dead rubber, Dan, isn't it? It's a dead rubber at the bottom of the table. But decent win for Cass. Give them some confidence. I think they travel to St Helens this week, which is a big game for St Helens, more so than Castleford. Let's see if Saints can back up.
Yeah, let's see. Speaking of Saints, the Wakefield game. Saints 46, Wakefield 16. No one predicted that, and I don't care who you are. No one predicted that result. Everyone thought Wakefield would go on, and because they've been in, barring the loss against Leeds, they've been in some fantastic form, haven't they, over the last few months?
Yeah, it's really funny, isn't it? Because they could end up after tonight's game, Hull Warrington, 5th in the competition.
Yeah, it's crazy. The worrying part for Wakefield is the injuries, and also is it Nicotimo that has gone back over to Australia? Yeah, so he's gone. Tom Johnstone's injured. There was another key injury as well.
Isaiah Vagana gets injured, dislocated his shoulder. That's who's brought in Zach Lipovic from Catalan. Wakefield have brought him in as reinforcement.
Because I just think they're getting injuries and losses at the wrong time, Wakefield. And I said, I predicted a few weeks ago, if they could stay clean, they could stay healthy, they could get to Old Trafford. But you look at them now; they've got beat at home against this. Let's be honest, and albeit a struggling Saints side, and some key injuries I'm a bit worried for them going into it because they've got Wigan this week as well, and that's a very, very tough game. Where do you see the Wakefield Trinity going from here? Think they could?
Well, I don't think they'll win this week, but I can see them winning the last three. So, but if you say you're going to win the last three, what's really important for them this week is to perform well at Wigan. Yeah. Very similar to what I said last week about League going to Leeds and performing well, and if they win, it's an added bonus. I think that the same can be said of Wakefield this week. Yeah. But listen, Saints were brilliant, by the way. Yeah. Sailor was brilliant. Hastings try assists. Wells be back to something like, Robertson doing what Robertson does because he's been a shining light. So I felt that Saints were very, very good. I've had a bit of stick for this already, but I don't understand the celebrations after the game. It's too much for me. Yeah. I don't. But they are entitled to celebrate and connect back with the fans because they've had a tough time of it in 2026 and they sat outside. I just think over the top, and as I said, I don't want to be a dinosaur, but I just felt it was over the top. People are entitled to celebrate, and people have said the young kids they can celebrate how the hell they want. You're talking out your backside. Yeah. Well, if I am, that's just my opinion. And they're entitled to theirs.
I equally think I agree with you. Bit over the top. You're not in. You're potentially not going to be in the playoffs for the first time in Super League.
28 years.
The problem I think they've had, because they've got that stature as a fan base and they're so used to being successful and they've got, and rightly so, the club's been hammered this year and the fans have been hammered this year, the banter side of it. Must have been that relief, and also because it was a game where you're going into a very, very tough and well-drilled Darryl Powell side, Wakefield, and you've got the result away from home. It might have been that relief. That's the only.
And I think it is that, Dan. I do think it is that, and I understand that from a fans and the Saints fans' point of view. Yeah. What's the expectation for Saints this year? Because this is something I was thinking about today while I was at the gym. Leeds didn't celebrate like that when they won there last week.
No.
And they won on the bell, by the way.
No.
They didn't celebrate like that with a team photo, but they're sat top of the table. Now, what was the expectation of Leeds and Saints at the beginning of the year?
Well, playoffs was a minimum, wasn't it? So
right, okay, but who had the better season last year?
I would say Leeds, even though Saints went further.
Saints knocked them out.
Yeah, they did.
Saints knocked them out. They went further in the competition than Leeds. Yeah. So I would argue that Saints had the better year, and the expectation on Saints would be higher than it would be at Leeds, because they finished above them in the competition last year.
Yeah, no, agreed.
But all of a sudden, they're celebrating mediocrity for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Going back to the game, though, what the one worrying part for Wakefield was in that second half, 34 unanswered points conceded. That is a big, not that the down tools or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. It's just they didn't. If you start conceding tries, you've got to tighten up. You've got to obviously beef your defence up, and it just seemed to be that they were all over the place. Like the centres weren't communicating to the wingers. There was gaps appearing everywhere. Yeah. I mean, the one that summed it up for me was the Jake Davis try at the end. He bumped off 2 or 3 people. I thought that was a worrying sign. They need to fix that up. But the last thing I'll say on that game, you just mentioned Jackson Hastings there. That was his 29th try assist this year. He still doesn't have a club for next year, and he doesn't have a contract with Saints. What happens with Jackson Hastings?
I don't think he stays at Saints. That's just my opinion. I don't think he'll stay at St Helens. There's a pick-up there for somebody.
Where do you think he'll land?
I don't know. I've got no idea. I wouldn't even like to have... If Dodd leaves Catalan, possibly Catalan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Everybody else seems to have the halfbacks all ready for 2027.
Yeah. It's a strange one, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, the Saints running out 46-16 winners. They are still 4 points off Lee, who are in 6th place. I still don't think that they can get there. But we move on. Wigan Warriors 34, Bradford Bulls 6. I think everyone would have predicted this similar outcome, unfortunately, for Bradford. We mentioned it last week, missing too many players. They're a bit off the pace. They're looking for next year. But Wigan, clinical, 34-6. You're still seeing these as the favourites, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I make them favourite. I think the bookies have put them into favourites this week as well. Shame on Bradford. They've gone to the foot of the table, which is probably, you'll finish where you deserve to finish at the end of the comp, mate. 27 rounds.
Yeah.
But, tough on Bradford with all the injuries and the upheaval at the club with players' season-ending injuries. It seems to happen every week to them. They get one or two. So, yeah, tough on Bradford, but we can do what we can do. I'm not sure whether Matt left a couple of players out or rested a couple of players, or they were actually genuinely injured. But I think he can begin to take calculated gambles like that with his team.
Yeah, of course.
With O'Neill particularly,
especially when you've got players such as Keon McDermott coming in,
and Taylor Kerr, who played at 9 hours player of the match.
Yeah. Two quality players coming through. But yeah, it was job done for Wigan.
Yeah.
The problem was with Bradford is what we said last week when we watched them against Warrington. It doesn't matter who's not on the field, who is on the field. When you're dropping the ball in your own 20, kicking kicks out on the full, throwing silly forward passes, that you're a professional rugby player and it's basics. If you get the basics right, you at least give yourself a chance. But they were just killing themselves, and they've done it 2 weeks in a row. But I love Kurt as a coach. I think they brought some fantastic players in, and like what you mentioned last week about the widening of the pitch and lengthening of the pitch, that could have a big factor on it as well. But yeah, Wigan, job done. Second in the table, same points now as Leeds Rhinos, but points difference a bit more healthier for Leeds Rhinos. The final game of this week, we've seen the Huddersfield Giants travel over to Toulouse. Huddersfield running out 26-10 winners. And off the bottom of the table, Paul, finally.
Yeah, brilliant. It's really interesting because I mentioned this yesterday. I was with Ralph Rimmer the week before with the podcast, and he mentioned to me that when he hired Jim Lenihan was the only candidate that was interviewed that said for 6 weeks it's going to get worse while he takes over. And that was a real interesting comment because what he asked his players to do was to get some intensity into training, and that would take its toll on match day where they would be fatigued.
Yeah.
So until he gets them to run and be fit, he can't ask them to win rugby league games without it being a little bit of luck. 6 weeks on, they win 4 on the spin and they're off the bottom of the table. And what Jim said in the interview, it got worse before it got better, has certainly been the case. I think they're working really hard for each other and they're getting into big moments and they're winning them big moments. And it's a real lesson for those players, that the teams at the foot of the table or near the foot of the table that have not got injuries or can get some intensity into the team. Yeah. Pre-season's huge, and if you mess up your pre-season, you start the season poorly, it spirals out of control, and we've seen that with a few clubs. So, you've got to be able to run and be fit to play rugby league, and I think Jim's had to get some running and fitness into them to win rugby league games, and has done so. Delighted for it because it's fascinating the way that a coach's psyche works and what Jim's done. Ironically, it takes a brave board of directors to employ someone who says it's going to get worse as well. So well done to Huddersfield.
Yeah, well done indeed to Huddersfield. That wraps it up for this week's Super League analysis and results. In closing then, got a couple of questions for you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, do you think DC will be a success in the Super League?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I can elaborate, but yes. The answer is yes. He's too good. He's still quality, and he's still winning games in the NRL. So I've got no doubt that he will come over and add quality to the competition and to Hull FC on the field.
Yeah, agreed. And the final one to wrap it up, we've just touched on them, but can Wakefield Trinity recover coming into the business end of the season?
Yes, of course. Even if they lose at Wigan this week, and listen, if they get hammered at Wigan this week, they can still win the last 3 and go into the playoffs in decent form.
Yeah.
If they win at Wigan this week, they can win the next 3 and they've won 4 going into playoffs. Yeah. If they perform well in all 4 and don't win 1 and still finish in the 6, they are still a chance to go away from home and win a playoff game and then win another one away from home and make a grand final. I think that's the beauty of the top 6 this year, is they've all got some kind of form right now, which would say, right, if Wakefield travel to Leigh, can Wakefield win this year, whereas last year they got beat? The answer would be yes.
Yeah.
Can Leigh go to Wigan or Leeds in a grand final eliminator and win and go to Old Trafford? The answer would be yes. Yeah. So I'm not sure which 2 teams will be at Old Trafford, and the stats of the top 2 always get there. For this year, may not be the case for either of the top 2 to get there.
Because coming up for Wakefield, on the last bit on that, Wigan away, York at home, Warrington at home, Leigh away.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but like you said, because
they're winnable.
They are winnable.
But they're all winnable. Listen, they're all winnable for the other teams as well. That's the beauty of the comp, isn't it?
Yeah.
York can spring a surprise. Warrington at home's no given, and going to Leigh could be a decider of who plays home and away the following week. That happened to me in 2005, where we played Warrington at home with Joey Johns. He destroyed us, and then we went there in the playoffs and destroyed them.
So it's not the worst thing in the world if you have to travel away, is it?
No.
But yeah, it's an interesting time. It's an exciting time. I'm glad that everything still isn't done, if you know what I mean. Everything can still shift around. It's still got all the fans engaged, especially for tonight's game, Warrington Hull KR. But again, as I say every week, Paul, absolute pleasure having you on.
Always, Dan. Thank you.
Love it. It's been a great episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. All your support is greatly appreciated, Lee, honestly. So yeah, until next week, it's goodbye from me and Paul.
Take care.